Welcome back everybody to Hearthstone at the Trading Post. My name is Greg, also known as Stuce, your host, as always, here on the Trading Post channel. We're going to jump into some solo adventures today. We're going to walk right into the heart of Blackrock Mountain and pick a fight with the big dragon, the two-headed monster, Chromaggus, as our dwarf buddy said in the background. So Chromaggus, the two-headed dragon, is one that we're going to want to have some early game survival, so we'll go ahead and keep that Death Lord. He has 60 health, as you can see, a daunting task compared to the 30 that you start out with as Anduin Wrynn, our chosen hero. And his hero power, Brood Affliction, will add a Brood Affliction card to my hand at the end of each of Chromaggus' turn for 0 cost of mana. So every single turn you'll be getting one of these cards, something like this, Brood Affliction Green. While this is in your hand, restore 6 health to your opponent at the beginning of your turn. So that one is one that we can just kind of not worry about too much, and in fact I would like to use that to my advantage, and I'll get to that in just a moment. The Brood Affliction cards do count as spells, so if you try to play them to get rid of them out of your hand, you have to worry about the effect that that will have on other minions on the board, such as this lovely Chromatic Dragonkin, which will gain +2/+2 for every spell that the player casts. So you have to be careful about which Brood Affliction cards you discard and when. So I guess my point is it's okay to let these cards sit in your hand for a little while, as long as you're keeping an eye on them and they don't get out of hand. But there is an exception to that. That is on turn 4. Beginning on turn 4, you need to make sure to get rid of the Brood Affliction cards whose effects are to reduce the cost of spells or reduce the cost of minions. Those ones, if you let those stay in your hand, things will get out of hand very, very quickly. So no matter what, I don't care the situation, unless you have victory in sight, get those cards out of your hands. That being said, we'll go ahead and use the minions we had on the board to keep the board clear, because board control is key all the time, even in solo adventures. So we will watch Chromaggus bounce off of my face and deal 4 damage. I'll take 3 more at the start of the turn and watch my poor first minion get burned up. That's the other downside of these Brood Affliction cards, is they take up a ton of space in your hand. Space that you don't really want it to take up. That was a perfectly good card that it burned up. But let's get into strategy here. The way I wanted to play this game was to use the Brood Affliction cards to my advantage, namely Brood Affliction Green. That one, its default mechanic is to heal for Chromaggus for 6 health at the beginning of each of my turns. Priests have a card, the Akanai Soul Priest, that has a very nice mechanic that turns all healing effects by the priest into damage effects, and that includes the Brood Affliction Green. So what I'm hoping to do here is survive long enough to acquire 2, 3, 4, as many Brood Affliction Greens as I can, and then drop out an Akanai Soul Priest behind some guards so that he can transform the Brood Affliction Green cards from a happy fountain of health for our two-headed friend into a terrible waterfall of dragon blood that will quickly be Chromaggus' demise. But at this point, I think I might just abandon that plan, because there's another way, and I have it built in as a backup plan, and regardless of how you're playing Chromaggus, unless you're just doing it purely for enjoyment and not necessarily going for the win, you should probably build in this Kel'Thuzad backup plan, because it is a known fact, floating around the interwebs, that if you have a taunt minion and Kel'Thuzad on the board, Chromaggus will refuse to attack with his minions until that combination is broken up. And given the fact that I am down by a score of 67-6, I think I'm going to go full in on that strategy at this point. So we'll go ahead and get rid of these Brood Affliction Reds, because I can only take 2 more of those before I'm dead, and I don't want them hitting me with a swipe. So I'll drop out another little safety blanket taunt here, just to ensure a little bit better board control, and to ensure that my taunts don't get just burnt down immediately by, say, a Flame Strike. Flame Strike and Swipe are probably Chromaggus' 2 favorite spells. We'll go ahead and take away the armor because we have spare damage on the board, and I don't particularly want to lose either of those nifty little minions out there.
I bring life.
And that is actually a nice stroke of luck. Thank you, Alexstrasza, for bringing me back up to 15 health. It's nice when you're getting toasted and Alexstrasza heals you. And I will give you a nice big thank you of a Shadow Word Death and I will send you to the discard pile. So we'll go ahead and start clearing out these Brood Affliction cards. We'll get rid of the Brood Affliction Black. And I think I'll go ahead and get rid of one of these Brood Affliction Greens. As soon as I get those cleared out, then I can start using my minions to deal some serious face damage. And I have this Inner Fire sitting there. I've got a couple options here. I could either continue to buff that Mogushan Warden. You know, that might not really be my best option. I could do that, or I could, for precisely this reason, go ahead and try to buff Kel'Thuzad. Now he is only sitting there at 4 health. He'll be eliminated by a swipe. He could be eliminated by another Flame Strike. And because of Chromaggus' Brood Affliction Black effect, which gives him an extra copy of drawn cards, he's very likely to have another Flame Strike in his hand. And as I say all of that, we see an exceedingly annoying little glitch that I didn't even consider as Chromaggus plays a Nozdormu card. I just got my turn skipped. I'm pretty damn sure that wasn't 15 seconds, and if it was, it's kind of bogus that it was all wasted during the Brood Affliction and KT Resurrects phase. Now I gotta race to get this Inner Fire and attack in so I can get rid of that stupid Nozdormu, and I can actually start playing the game again. I guess that's kind of fair though, a glitch for a glitch. If I'm gonna play it in a buggy way, I suppose it can bug right back at me. But anyway, we'll clear off Nozdormu and get back down to business. 9 mana remaining. We'll go ahead and take... oh, never mind. Typically you can use that Shadow Word Pain to burn down those formerly 3/2 minions, but every time you cast a spell they gain 2/2. Normally that's not something you want to do. You don't want to play spells while they're out there, and that's something that makes it tricky in this, because to get rid of the Brood Afflictions you have to play the spell. But given that we know Chromaggus won't attack with his minions, I'm just going to go ahead and let the fun begin. We'll see how high those numbers will crawl. As long as I can prevent those taunt minions or Kel'Thuzad from being killed by spells, I'm good to go. I don't have to worry about the damage left on the board. Pray for mercy. So we'll go ahead and crash some minions into some things. I don't really want the Perpetual Web Spinner to die repeatedly and fill up my hand with the beast he creates, so I'll just ram him into the face. At this point, face totals will be so negligible, I'll go ahead and sacrifice the Witch Doctor just for the sake of watching him be revived. The game at this point is really just a formality, so depending on how cocky you want to be, you can let it drag out for as long as you feel like. All you need to do now is babysit your Brood Afflictions. I'm going to go out on a limb here and guess that anyone at this point in this game has a mana surplus, so it's probably a good idea just to get rid of any Brood Affliction card that you get assigned, but if for whatever reason that's not your style, just make sure you get rid of the bronze and especially the blue Brood Affliction to ensure that the boss won't hit you with a surprise monster combo. The last thing you need to do is blow an easy game because you got careless and forgot to watch the Brood Affliction cards. So we're just going to go ahead and start the landslide of damage on Chromaggus, which while there is something he could do about it, there is nothing that he will do about it. So it makes it a nice little fun, I don't want to call it a mini game because it's not really an objective, but it's a kind of fun little event here to watch how high you can get these chromatic dragonkins to be buffed with that 2/2 that they gain for every spell that you cast. So we'll go ahead and we'll fill our side of the minion with, our side of the board with minions, and continue to just beat on that poor 2-headed dragon's faces. And we have that nice little Inner Fire sitting in the deck to make Kel'Thuzad a very, very lethal man. So there's one of the swipes that we were looking out for, but we were prepared for that. That is a theme in my explanations here, is be prepared, expect what's coming next, and plan for it so it doesn't cripple you too much. Knowing that that swipe was likely to come at some point, we had Kel'Thuzad properly buffed so he would survive, and we can keep plugging away for what appears to be the final move of Chromaggus' poor, sorry life. So a 16/16 Kel'Thuzad will crash into Chromaggus, a little gloating spider, followed by a big 10 damage Mogushan Warden that will finish the job and send the 2-headed behemoth to his grave. And that will send us to the end slate, where I would like to thank you all again so much for watching. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with everything coming out of the Trading Post. Releasing earlier this very month, in fact, is a wonderful new episode of Missing Rulebook Games where yours truly is bound and beaten with household items. But while you're down there doing your clicky things, don't forget to click on the description area where you can find all sorts of wonderful links to click that will send you to all kinds of magical places, including to this deck build, our Facebook, and our official Trading Post webpage. Anyway, one last time from everyone at the Trading Post, thank you so much for watching, and we look forward to seeing you right here very soon.